Good morning, everyone. My name is Dave Miller, National Market Manager at Graybar, and I'd like to welcome you to the Graybar G2 Talk presentation on your top 3 warehouse resolutions and why you're going to fail to keep them. This talk is part of a webinar series we offer each month for our customers. Today, we will gain deep insight into how lighting affects your facility, what options you have for improvement, and that includes a solution to ensure that your new lighting will work as planned. We will hear from your peers, and we'll also have some fun. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. First of all, if you were one of the first 50 people who joined in on this presentation, you will receive a coupon for a free cup of coffee, courtesy of Graybar, as a thank you for your time today. Also, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you will see a box for Q&A. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. We'll address as many questions as time permits at the end of the presentation. Also, as you use the chat box, if you type in the words "more info," if we do not answer the question live in this session, we will get back to you immediately afterwards. Our G2 Talks are all archived on the graybar.com website, so you will be able to view this presentation again or recommend it to others. We're happy to team up today with Acuity Brands. As an electrical distributor, Graybar works alongside of Acuity Brands to offer innovative technology and an extensive portfolio of products to deliver cost-effective, safe, and productive workspaces. You can visit graybar.com to learn more about our solutions. So let me tell you a little bit more about our speakers today, Mick Wilcox and Justin Moon from Acuity Brands. Mick Wilcox is the Vice President of Strategic Marketing at Acuity Brands Lighting, one of the world's leading lighting controls and daylight manufacturers. With more than 20 years of experience in lighting and high-tech industries, he is focused on bringing the warehouse facility of the future to you today in a sustainable, energy-efficient manner. As a strong advocate for that role, advanced lighting systems play in enabling optimized solutions to improve facilities, ROI, maintenance and quality. He also works with Acuity Brands R&D and product design teams to ensure the company is leading the warehouse space through technological advancements, evidence-based design principles, and voice of the customer insights. Mick has an MBA in finance and accounting and a BS in mathematics. Justin Moon is the Director of Strategic Marketing at Acuity Brand Lighting, again, one of the world's leading lighting, controls, and daylighting manufacturers. With more than 9 years of experience in the lighting industry, he's passionate about understanding the challenges within industrial and storage facilities and then aligning solutions to meet those distinct needs and then to optimize the space. Justin is a veteran of the United States Army and holds a Master of Business Administration from Liberty University. So, without further delay, I'll turn the presentation over to Mick.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. So as Dave mentioned, Justin and I spent a little time in the military, and in the military you get good at doing what you're told. So what they told us is any good presentation needs to start off with an icebreaker. So we thought we'd start off with an icebreaker. So I'll let you look at this a couple of times. Every time we watch it, we get a little chuckle out of it, and as you saw from the pictures before, that is not either one of us. But anyway, a little icebreaker here to get things going, making sure you guys are paying attention, and as Dave said, we're going to have a little fun with this webinar, but also hopefully teach you some things. So with that, let's move on to your New Year's resolution, and have you already failed? Well, the bad news is only 8% of the people who make New Year's resolutions actually keep them. Not too good a batting average. What I'd also say is, for those of you that did make New Year's resolutions, 36% of you by mid-February have already stopped keeping them. But there is some hope. Many studies tell us that if you make explicit goals, in other words, hey, I want to lose, instead of I want to lose 20 pounds, it's, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds by this date, I'm going to take these steps to get there. The more explicit the goal is, the better your chances. So you can even improve your odds by up to 10x. The other thing that studies tell us is if you are explicit about them, the next thing you need to do is write them down. You have a 42% better chance of accomplishing your goals and New Year's resolutions if you write them down. And finally, if you write them down, the next biggest indicator as to whether you'll be successful or not is if you take immediate action. So we're going to help you here. What we're going to do is give you a little motivation to start taking those first steps. We're going to give away $200 to somebody on the call today, and all you have to do is 4 small steps. So take out a piece of paper, write down the top 2 or 3 things you're going to do to accomplish in your facility in 2016. What are the immediate steps you're going to do to accomplish those? And then what's the result of the action? So once you do them, write down what happened, and then send it to us. Text us, Facebook us, Snapchat us, send it to our LinkedIn profile. Whatever you need to do, just get it to us. Don't worry, this is not a difficult thing to do. I'm going to give you the answers here in a minute. So, what are some of your goals? And if not, they should be. Increase your profitability, higher ROI, more efficient operations, lower your operating costs. I would assume this is a goal of most of you. Reduce your maintenance, and also reduce or lower your downtime. And then finally, improve your quality of your product, your service, your people, and even the safety of your people. All are important things that you should do. Why do you need to do these? Well, you need to do them to survive and prosper, but also because your competition's doing it. For profitability, there's 13 billion square foot of warehouses available. That's a lot of competition out there. You need to be able to set yourself apart. It's also the fastest growing construction segment, and there's more competition coming. Maintenance, downtime, there's nothing profitable about it. It reduces your profitability, it increases failures, it causes safety concerns. There's about 100,000 forklift accidents a year, an average about $35,000 for each incident. And also you want to comply with codes and standards. And then finally, the quality. You need to make sure you maintain the quality of your products and your people. Product returns are one of the biggest costs to warehouse and distributors. Unemployment's at a 7-year low, so there are opportunities for people to go other places. So with this, I've given some of what your goals are, how you might accomplish them, but there's always roadblocks to accomplishing anything you want to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin and let him discuss some of those potential roadblocks and what we might do with them.
Thanks, Vic. So what are some of the roadblocks to your success? And throughout these roadblocks, does your traditional lighting system contribute to them? So the first one, energy bills. There are large costs and higher prices are in your future. Then you have lamp and ballast maintenance. Again, like Mick said, you have got downtime, you got to pay people to do the maintenance, and then component costs could be increasing as well. And then lastly, insufficient lighting. Is that contributing to picking and production issues, safety issues, or employee issues? So we're going to go through each one of these and see some more statistics. When we look at energy, studies show that it is one of the largest costs in a warehouse. And of the total electricity, 60% is used for lighting. If you have traditional fluorescent or HID technology today, that number makes sense, as these technologies can use up to 458 watts per fixture. Switching to LED gives you immediate savings, as you can see those numbers on the right. But we'll briefly, we'll look at those more in depth to come. In addition to the large cost of being 60%, do you know that future prices are going to increase about 10% over the next few years? This means you will need to find ways of cutting costs at least by 10% in order to cancel out these cost increases. And if you want to increase your profitability, you're going to have to find ways to make up the 10%, but then also make up some more as well. Some other energy things. Are you wasting energy by leaving the lights on when no one is in the space? If you look out over your warehouse today and your lights are on all the time, or you have to turn them off with a switch, then you are wasting energy, and there's things you can do to save money. In addition to leaving them on, are you not controlling the electric light to take advantage of daylight? Again, if you have skylights in your space today and your lights do not dim down as that daylight increases, then you're wasting energy. And we'll talk about some of the solutions that can save you energy here. Transitioning over to maintenance, maintaining your traditional lighting system is costing you money. Some of those hidden costs are the contract labor, scissor lift rentals, downtime, disruption to areas. One thing of note, if you have traditional HID today, after 10,000 hours, your light levels decrease 50%, requiring lamp changes. 10,000 hours is just over 1 year if you're a 24/7 operation. So just think about that. You may have to do maintenance yearly just to maintain your light levels, which again, we'll talk about what some of that could mean to your operation. So we look at the process of maintenance. A lot goes into maintaining your traditional lighting system. Again, that scissor lift rental, you've got to get your labor crew, the new lamps and ballast, closing off the areas, lamp and ballast disposal, and just think that you could be doing this every year, every 2 years, and that's costing you a lot of money. Having to do it so often could lead to cutting some corners, maybe not respecting some of the dangers that are present by being 30 foot up in the air. So whatever your strategy, again, having a little fun here. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you decide to use dual forklifts to take some maintenance out, or if you decide to jump on a pallet to go up there and change some lamps, you still got to pay for it. And we do know in some cases, having to do it so often, sometimes corners are cut. So what do you want to pay for? Well, like any good business, you want to pay for work that adds value and gets the job done. Sometimes when you look at production versus downtime, that downtime results in some shenanigans, or in really creative ways to be Spider-Man in your spare time. Mick and I have agreed to kind of try this out, maybe, if we don't respect the dangers. What do you think, Mick?
We're trying here to have a little fun and make sure you guys are still watching the video or the presentation. But these maintenance costs are real, and so are the quality issues and the potential safety hazards that go along with them. Anything we can do to help you take those out of your facility, I think, is a win in the long run.
Absolutely. So lastly, looking at the quality of light. So there are a lot of numbers on this slide right here. We'll look at some of them, but we'll look at some other slides as well. So like Mick mentioned, about 100,000 forklift accidents every year. Not every one of those is attributable to lighting, but certainly some are. You got 2% of picking errors could occur because the employee can't see the barcode. Sometimes insufficient lighting leads to the accidents. Having sufficient lighting can increase productivity and the ability to get the job done. So is that insufficient lighting contributing to returns? That's a big one. Returns mean rework, and rework is never a good thing. It increases your costs and can lead to lost revenue. So everything that went into picking that wrong product then has to be reversed. You increase more people that are going to be touching it on the return. Again, that's one of those things that decreases that profitability. In addition to returns, you got the slower production due to kind of straining to see your labels or your barcodes. I don't know about you, but anytime I can't see something clearly, I go a little bit slower just to make sure I'm getting the job done properly. Or if I don't go slower, I may not get it done. Again, that's what that insufficient lighting could result in. And then the safety issues. So the hazards from slips, trips, falls, and forklifts. Again, those almost 100,000 forklift accidents. Studies show now that about 3% of employer costs are workers' compensation, so either paying them out or accruing for them. And we get it, right? Accidents happen. But do you really want your lighting system to be the reason that it happened? Do you want your workers to say they were injured because they could not see? It's a hazard that can be changed very easily. And then lastly, as Mick mentioned, that low morale, right? If employees have options today due to unemployment, You really want your dark warehouse to influence them looking for a new job. So that's some of the roadblocks. There's a lot of options for you to invest in your warehouse. From better software, more automation, more trucks, more people, you have a lot of options. Why should you consider looking up? As we've seen, there are specific roadblocks that switching to LED can eliminate, but are the return numbers good enough to warrant a look at the solutions? You know, if I were to tell you, hey, you can change out to LED, but it's a 20-year payback, you're probably not going to give me the time to look at some of those solutions. So that's what we're going to do real quick is look at those solution numbers to see, does it make sense to go ahead and change out today? So we're going to look at two different scenarios, HID versus LED and then fluorescent versus LED. So if you have 400 watt HID installed today and about 250 fixtures, you could be spending about $83,000 a year. You just switch out to LED, you could be saving about $58,000 a year. That's 70% savings on day one at about a 1.4-year payback. If you add in some of the occupancy sensors or photo sensors, again, to turn the lights off when no one's in the space or to dim down your electric lighting, you can jumpstart that savings to about $64,000 a year at greater than 77%. And then if you add some of the wireless controls that we'll talk about again that can optimize your space, you could save about 87% a year, almost $72,000 from day one that you'll start saving on the energy side. A lot of you may have already made the switch and gotten rid of your HID, but you moved over to fluorescent. So do the numbers make sense when you look at fluorescent? If you have a 6-lamp T5 HO installed today, again, you could be spending about $65,000 a year in energy and maintenance. Changing out to the LED Highbay could save you about 60% a year or $39,000. Adding the occupancy sensor can save you an additional, jumpstart the savings to 71% or $46,000 a year. And looking at those wireless controls as a system can push that savings up to 83%.
You know, Justin, the thing I like about this is I've been in the LED industry now for almost a decade, and the push was always to get to the 3-year payback. Once you get to 3-year payback, you can see mass adoption start to take over in a lot of different areas, and we've seen that. We're certainly seeing it in the industrial areas. The thing I like about this, though, is for all those people that are thinking, hey, is this the right time, or is it going to get cheaper, is it going to get more efficient? Well, you can see that the LEDs have got to a price point and an efficiency where it's time to take action today. I mean, the numbers spell it out. I think anybody would be happy with a 1.4 year payback, and in some areas it could be significantly faster than that. That's the other thing I like about what you've presented here is you've built this off of a model that's available to anybody. They can go in and change the numbers to whatever their energy costs are, their maintenance costs are, and see if the payback's right for them. But I think you've shown here that, you know, now is the time to take action if you're interested in ROI.
Absolutely, especially, you know, one of the hang-ups we always heard is against fluorescent, LED never made sense, and now you're down to a 2-year payback. That's phenomenal. So looking at some of the solutions that go into that financial analysis, the first is the IBH LED Highbay. As we saw in the financial numbers, just changing the LED can reduce your energy consumption immediately. With this one, this is up to 60 to 70% energy savings with this fixture. This is a quick way to reduce that stat I gave of 60% of electricity is used for lighting. So just changing out to this LED Highbay again can mitigate those cost increases that you're seeing and save you money from day one. LED Highbays virtually eliminate the maintenance, so they have extremely long life as opposed to the almost yearly maintenance needed for the traditional lighting systems. LEDs can last up to 10 years with little or no maintenance. The components used within the IBH are part of a proven system that Acuity stands behind, and we'll talk more about that in the slides to come. And then the last thing that I like about the LED Highbay as opposed to traditional technology, it is not affected by frequent on-off switching. So it does not matter if you turn them on and off every 30 seconds of every day. Contrast this to traditional technology. HID takes anywhere up to 15 minutes just to warm up. If you guys remember the New Orleans Super Bowl, that was the issue there with the HID lamps. And then fluorescent lamp life drastically drops the more you turn it on and off. Not so with LEDs. This means you can really increase those savings by taking advantage of different strategies. In addition to the IBH, depending on your environment or your goals, we have different types of LED high bays available, depending on you have higher ambient temperatures or dust ratings. So the IBL and the JHBL are additional solutions available if your environment calls for a different solution than the IBH. Looking at some of the control strategies, if you add that occupancy or photocell sensor, it increases your savings up to about 70%, almost 80% in some cases. So you could turn the lights on and off, dim them down when no one is in the space. And again, because LEDs do not care about the frequent switching, you can choose really short timeout periods to increase the savings even more. And because you're now turning them on and off, you're going to increase your luminaire life, meaning even longer periods of little to no maintenance. The sensor ensures that your workers get the light that they need and when they need it to complete the job. And you get multiple operations with one component. So within this sensor, you can turn it on and off with special timeout periods. You can dim it down to certain levels that you could choose, and then you could take advantage of daylight in the warehouse and adjust your electric lighting, all within this one sensor. So building upon this, you can then layer in different wireless systems and other controls. So adding the wireless system enables even more savings because now you can tailor your lighting system to the needs of your operation, from large areas, specific aisles, and even individual fixtures. And again, because now you're turning them off and on and using more flexible operations, you're going to increase your luminaire life even more. The reliable wireless network has no single point of failure. That means even if the signal is lost in one fixture, the entire system continues to operate. And then this gives you flexible tools that evolve with you. You know, do you really want to run Cat5 cable 30 feet in the air to have a system? Wired solutions certainly have their place. You know, they're perfect in office settings, but wireless is the way to go in the warehouse area. The system ensures that your lighting system evolves with you. If you need to move or add fixtures one day due to an operation change, it's no problem with the wireless system. So right now I'm going to show you a video that walks you through the different strategies you can use in your warehouse. It shows how day lighting works, how aisle-based control strategies work, and what fixture-level control strategies look like. Be sure to turn up the volume on your computer in order to hear the video.
How do you create the ideal lighting environment for any area of your warehouse, for any time of the day or night? By combining the right mix of lighting and control solutions to your specific needs. To demonstrate, we have segmented the warehouse to showcase different control strategies that can be implemented. From the open area, we will demonstrate daylight harvesting. Watch as the electric lighting responds to the daylight coming through the skylights. For those areas with frequent but inconsistent use, we will demonstrate zoning or scheduling. Here the lighting is programmed to respond as a group or aisle. Finally, for those areas with lower levels of activity, we will demonstrate fixture-level control. It provides the most effective fixture-level energy savings. Follow along and see how you can maximize savings, operational efficiency, and flexibility with lighting, controls, and daylighting solutions. We'll start with a daylight harvesting demonstration. By themselves, LED luminaires provide up to 70% in savings over traditional lighting sources. Our daylight harvesting solutions build on those savings by adjusting the use of electric lighting in response to the amount of daylight available. You get unprecedented energy savings without sacrificing productivity and worker safety. Now, take a look at how integrating lighting controls can take savings to a higher level. In this scenario, luminaires are integrated with wireless controls and programmed to respond to activity as a group to illuminate the entire aisle. This allows you to control the lighting with flexible, customized light levels based on occupancy, scheduling, or merchandise in the aisle. For even more energy savings, luminaires in areas that experience lower levels of activity can be programmed to respond individually, providing responsive lighting that seamlessly lights the path ahead and ensures electricity is consumed only when and where the space is in use. In every case, you stay in worry-free code compliance and strike the balance you need between a space that's productive and efficient. As a single-source provider and your true partner, Acuity Brands delivers industry-leading lighting and control solutions that simply work. To learn more about maximizing the savings and lighting performance for your warehouse applications, visit acuitybrands.com/industrial warehouse.
You know, Justin, the thing I like the most about that video is how it ties together the LED lights, the sensors, both the occupancy and photo sensing, and then wraps in the control systems as well. I think it really does a good job of showing the three things that you just talked about. How easy is it to control one of these systems once you get it in place?
That's a good question. So we use the SensorView software to control the entire operation. So this enables you to manage your complete interior lighting system from a single interface. You can manage your wired and wireless controls. That means you can manage your office lighting, warehouse lighting, and task lighting all from one interface. In addition to that, you can monitor the live system status from your desktop or even the mobile app that's available. You can configure sensors, daylight, and dimming settings all within the software. You can implement the strategies in the video quickly and easily. You can make certain aisles turn on all at once, or other aisles respond as individual fixtures like the video showed. And if something changes, it is easy to go in there and change strategies, right? If your inventory changes in one way or the back of the warehouse starts getting a little bit busier, it's extremely easy to go into the software and say, I really want these fixtures to respond this way. I want my dock area to respond this way. So it makes it extremely easy to go in there and adapt. And then lastly, you get actionable data and analytics. So you can verify the historical system operations, monitor your energy usage trends, and then you can take action. That's the best part. Data is pretty much useless unless you do something with it. And so this gives you that ability to go in there and really maximize those energy savings, increase your profitability, reduce that maintenance and downtime as well. So in addition to that main LED Highbay, that's probably the driver of the warehouse, we have those LED solutions for the task and demanding areas as well. So we know anywhere where you need task lighting, low ceiling heights, canopies, we have the solutions that meet those needs, from the ZL LED strip to the new DMW2 LED. The good thing about all of these solutions here is that they can be implemented with the same wireless system to enable you to manage all the areas of your operation. Again, so you can manage the IBH with the task lighting and your demanding applications. But don't forget about those other areas. It's very easy to walk out into your warehouse and see the 200 or 400 Highbays that you have out there, but that's not all that you need to consider when looking at your lighting system. 20 to 30% of your lighting could be used on the outdoor side, so from your flood lighting, area lighting, employee parking, building mount, security options as well. So you got to look at the outdoor side. What we've seen on warehouse applications is 10 to 20% of that is going to be office lighting. So private offices, conference rooms, atriums, lobby areas as well are going to need an office lighting solution from your kind of LED troffer as well as the downlights. And then lastly, kind of the mandatory life safety lighting. So you're going to use emergency lighting out in the warehouse and also in those office areas as well. And Acuity has the solutions that you need for that. So does this seem like a lot? We're talking LEDs, sensors, wireless systems. It sure seems like we're talking more about technology and electronics rather than lighting. It can seem overly complicated, almost like building your own computer. I mean, you want a computer, but you don't want to have to build your own. Do you remember having to do this, Mick?
All too well. I can remember the first time I put together my own computer. You get the chassis, you get the motherboard, you get the processor, you get the RAM, hard drive, put it all together, and the motherboard's not compatible with the processor. So you call the motherboard manufacturer, they say no, it's the processor guys. You call the processor guys, they say no, it's the motherboard. Pretty soon, 6 months later, you've had to do all the research to figure out what works with what, how it's all intertwined together, and you're 6 months out and you finally have a computer. We don't do that anymore. Today I call HP or Dell and Amazon delivers me a new computer the next day. So we've taken a lot of complexity out of how we build computers now. We need to do the same thing with lighting solutions.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want simple, right? We want our complex systems to be as simple as possible, whether it's our phones, computers, any of that. We want things to just work, right? You turn it on, and we want it to work with little effort. Fortunately, Acuity has an answer, right? We do get it. You want your lighting and controls and sensors to all work together, just like that computer. You don't want to have to go to multiple manufacturers and piecemeal a lighting system together that may or may not work on a given day. That's why we created A-plus certified solutions. And we've listened to thousands of customers over the years who want their lighting system to work together and deliver the expected outcome. And A-plus certified solutions ensure this. This means you can go to one manufacturer, Acuity Brands, for all the parts and know that everything has been tested, factory calibrated, and verified. We're the only manufacturer offering such a comprehensive program that spans across multiple product types and applications through a proven system. So you can have confidence that your IBHs as a part of this network are going to operate exactly as intended, and then layer in that task lighting and enclosed and gasketed, working with your sensors as well as any accessories that you have on the system, are all going to work together and give you the performance that you expect. So Mick, how does that sound to you?
I think that sounds great, and I like the fact that you take all the complexity out of it for the customers. They just need to order the parts, it shows up, and works as expected. But I do have to say, to some extent, it sounds like a lot of fluff. I mean, you're telling me you can fix my ROI problems, which, okay, we can run the calculator and see if 1.4 years is good enough for anybody, if they need 1.3, if it's 2. So I get that part of your story. But you're telling me that you can make my employees happy. You can increase my quality, both less returns, better picking, faster rates. You can make all my employees more productive, cut down on my maintenance. At least hopefully the maintenance isn't like that, but more like that. This seems like a lot, and all you're really doing is giving me lighting. You know, Justin, everybody out here works in the real world. Could you give us an example of how this would actually work in a real-life situation?
That's a good way to do it. So looking at some of the recent case studies, two come to my mind. One, we did some work with the Gateway Commerce Center out in Nevada. They were actually building a new facility, so they were going after a LEED Gold, and they wanted a complete campus-wide lighting solution that was going to benefit multiple tenants over time. So the solution was they did fully integrated LEDs, including the controls throughout the entire facility. So they had it in the warehouse area, office spaces, and the outdoor. And the results, they were seen as a pioneer in the Nevada area in regards to an integrated building-wide LED solution. Getting that solution did enable them to achieve LEED Gold, which was great for their goals and going forward to benefit those tenants over time. Additional work we've done, so we've done a lot of work with Preferred Freezer Services over the years. But rather than me kind of spout off some of the statistics, we got a couple videos that we're going to show you. The best part about these videos is Mick or I actually weren't really involved. We sent a production crew up and interviewed some people at the Preferred Freezer. Technically, they didn't really know what they were going to be talking about, and so they just kind of shared exactly what this LED system did for them. And again, we're going to watch a video, so if you got your volume turned up, that would be great.
Return on investment is definitely part of our thought process to go LED. You know, doing the right thing from a green standpoint is part of the decision, but economics also play into it. We were able to identify Acuity as the perfect solution for us, worked with the engineers at Acuity. Just to give you some perspective on what the return looks like from Preferred Freezer Services standpoint, it was about a year payback or less, depending on the location. So the decision was not a tough decision once we understood what the numbers were.
The savings with the maintenance on them, you know, the metal halide bulbs and high pressure sodium bulbs only last for so long. So light goes out in a Highbay situation, they're like 60 feet in the air, so you gotta get personnel with a lift, go up there, get them, change the bulbs, and the bulbs are expensive too. LEDs, there's little to no maintenance on them. At least 10, 20 years they're supposed to last, these LEDs. Our application is a freezer warehouse, so it's imperative that we keep our freezer as cold as possible and maintain that temperature because we store food. Now, metal halide light or high pressure sodium light gives off immense heat. So you have 300 of these lights in the freezer, you can see how much BTUs they're producing, and it affects your cooling capacity. Our refrigeration systems have to run harder. Everything's affected just by changing those lights.
Between the savings from a watt standpoint and the savings you can get state by state from an incentive standpoint, add those up and there is a definite economic return on investment.
So it's cool to see some of the sound bites that Preferred said, especially on the ROI and maintenance play. My favorite video is some of the things on that intangibles, right, the quality of light, that they were able to kind of explain what changing out LED meant for their operations. We've got one more video around how changing out to LED really improved the quality of their operation.
The biggest issue that we would have on the dock before we switched over to the LED lights was the fact that the dock was so dark.
The LED lighting compared to high pressure sodium is like a yellowish light. Metal halide's kind of like the same thing. With the LED light, it's a bright, clean white light, and it makes things more clear. It makes it safer for the guys to walk around and work in this environment.
One of the biggest benefits from a quality standpoint is the clarity that you have both on our loading dock and in our freezer. From my perspective, it's a whiter light.
It was a lot easier to operate. It was a lot easier for people to see. People, you know, seem to be maneuvering a lot faster and a lot better and a lot more quickly and efficiently.
We talk about quality every day at Preferred Freezer Services. Walk into any one of our facilities, the number one thing that every one of our leaders in each location talks about every day is safety.
I never want to have to make the call to somebody's loved one that something happened to them at work. So anything that we can do to make the warehouse and the dock environment safer, we're going to do.
Our people are everything in our business, and making the environment a better environment to work is something that's on our agenda every day. You feel better when you're walking into a nice, bright, well-lit location. It just feels good coming to work every day when you have that kind of environment.
I'd never seen a warehouse that bright. It hit and exceeded all my expectations.
So I think the people at Preferred do a great job showing what changing out to LED really meant for them, especially on the quality of light side, what it meant for their operation. Working with them has been a joy over the years of increasing the quality of their operation. So Mick, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what we talked about today?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. We'll do a quick recap. You know, our goal really here was to have a little bit of fun, but also help you guys meet some of your goals and resolutions for this upcoming year. Maybe help you increase your profitability, reduce your maintenance, any type of quality issues that we could help you with as well. We did discuss some of the roadblocks that you need to overcome in order to get these, from ever-increasing energy bills, maintenance with lamp and ballast changes out, and downtime to your production areas, and insufficient lighting that causes, you know, quality or safety issues. And we've given you a solution that's all wrapped up in one A+ certification and guarantee from Acuity that goes across all your different areas. So we hope we've helped give you some insight into what your options are and how you might improve all of these things. The next step is, what do you need to do? So as we talked about, that piece of paper and wrote down your goals and what you're going to do about it and what the actions were, email them to us. We'll enter you in the giveaway. If you want a lighting audit, just put audit in the subject line, send it to that. And if you're curious about the ROI calculations and you want it done for your specific facility, maybe your lighting electrical bills are higher or lower than what we did with the national average, we'd be more than happy to run those with you as well. And if you want to learn more, you can always visit acuitybrands.com/industrial and look at all of our solutions. So with that, that kind of wraps up our part of it. Dave, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mick and Justin. Excellent presentation, and we had some fun along the way. This time we'd like to address some of the questions that have been submitted. As a reminder, you can submit a question using the Q&A box on the bottom. Also, if you want to get more info, type in more info. If you want to get audit, type in audit, and we will be back to you afterwards. So let's jump into the questions. The first one was, back when we were looking at the various payback alternatives, you had a number of charts depending upon the technology that was being used. And the question came up, why did the yearly payback increase when you included all of the options, like in fluorescent versus LED? So that, I think, was the visual basic output.
Yeah. So in that chart, it does show a slight increase in the payback time for when you put in the controls option as well. The reason for that is there's costs associated with the control systems. So there's a slight increase in the initial cost, and it takes a little bit longer, another 2 or 3 months to get the payback. What you do, though, from a total cost of ownership perspective, you then have that savings once you get to your payback of the HID was 1.6 years. After that, you've got that savings for the next 8, 9, 10, 12 years that you'll be able to enjoy. So from a TCO perspective, it's even a bigger win.
Okay, next question really is about light. So how do I know how much light I have now, how much light I need, and then when it's bright enough? Really good point.
So the quickest way to find out how much light you have now is we can have somebody come do an audit to the facility, bring the foot candle meter out there. They can test different areas, your loading area or your dock area, or how much you're getting in the aisles. And then the IES has specific recommendations on warehouse lighting. So there's recommendations for your loading area of how many foot candles that you need, how many foot candles you need in your aisles depending on the task being performed. So if you have kind of small labels, small packages, you're going to need more light. If you have large packages and larger labels, IES recommends a little bit less on the foot candle side. It also has recommendations for your vertical illumination in the aisleways. And so the person that could come out there and do that audit will have, you know, the right recommendations for your space, depending on your operation as well.
Okay, thank you. So another question is there a big difference between using the LED replacement with the fluorescent ballast and then doing an LED with LED control driver? So would you actually contrast that and then again versus a new LED fixture?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things between the two of going with an LED replacement, I guess in this case maybe a LED replacement lamp using the fluorescent ballast versus going with the LED fixture with kind of an integrated system is around the components being used. The testing, you know, a lot of times in a warehouse you're in some elevated ambient temperatures. So one thing I would look at specifically is what's the rated temperature for the LED replacement. Is it getting rid of the thermals that LEDs produce, as opposed to a specific Highbay that has been built to manage thermals and to manage performance within a given space. And also just the performance that you get with both. Does it tie into that proven system? You know, does the fluorescent ballast really put out as much light through that LED replacement as you get when you've got an LED driver with boards as part of a system that's been engineered?
Yeah, and the thing I'd add to that, Dave, is when you're putting in a full system, you know that they've all been tested and work together. You also know that dimming is going to work correctly. The occupancy sensing, photo sensing is going to work. And also some of the times when you have just a tube that you put back into a fluorescent fixture, you know, many times the life expectancy of those is 15,000 hours, so you'll still be doing the maintenance, you know, instead of every 12,000 hours, every 15,000 hours. Whereas if you put a full LED fixture in there, they're good for 100,000 plus hours. So I think there's a lot of advantages to using an LED with an LED driver as it was intended.
You know, good point. There's one of the things folks don't quite think of is that these systems, 100,000 hours, often tends to be 12 years to 20 years worth of real life, based on using it 4,000 to 5,000 hours a year, maybe 6,000. So you really are making a 10 to a 20-year investment here. All right, yeah. So one of the next questions actually is on sensors. The person says, hey, my experience with sensors is I'm waving my arms to keep the lights on. What testing is there to prove that it's going to work with forklifts in an aisle?
So with our sensors, they're designed specifically around the height of which they're set in, and also for the size of what you're trying to detect. For instance, we use different ones if you're sitting at your desk, and there's different sensors than if you're driving a forklift down the aisle. So they're designed specifically for the application, and they're also they're not. You can set the timeout for whatever you want, so you're not waving your arms once you detect the motion.
In addition, you know, talking to different warehouse customers over the years, you know, if you have certain levels of automation or even sometimes with forklifts, sometimes sensors do have trouble picking that up. The benefit of upgrading to that wireless system is you're able to kind of pick the sensor that you want to use within that space. And so, hey, I want to pick sensor B, which is right in the middle of the aisle, that can then control that whole kind of group. And so you kind of alleviate that concern a little bit of an individual sensor not picking up. So with that wireless system, you can go in there and choose and say, hey, in this area, this sensor is going to be the one that's going to control everything because it's not going to pick up that automation or some of the other areas.
Okay, good. I think that's, you know, one of the logical concerns. Folks haven't had experience with sensors, making that step forward. So the next person is actually in the middle of doing an evaluation, and they see emails coming in with, LED lights, they've not heard of them, prices are pretty cheap. And the question is, how do I evaluate different lights to make sure that I'm getting a good quality?
So this is a very good question, and it's one that some people haven't done the LED industry any favors by putting stuff out there that doesn't live up to the expectations of an LED. I mean, you certainly don't want to put a LED system in that has a 15,000 hour rated lifetime when they're capable of doing 100,000 plus hours if they're just properly designed. So there's a multitude of things you can look at. Anything from your temperature ratings to your L70, which tells you the life expectancy and how much life you'll have after a certain number of hours. Also the certifications that they've got, whether it's UL or other type of certifications, are certainly ways to evaluate them. And then, talking to people who have actually installed them and what experience they've had with them and how long they've lasted. We've had multiple situations where we're going back in and replacing an LED fixture that they bought that was the cheapest off of the shelf, and a year later we're coming back in there and replacing them with fixtures that are actually built the way they should be and tested the way they should be and all work together and have the proper thermal and electrical testing completed.
Okay, thank you. So 2 other quick questions popped up. One is regarding life again. So the lights are rated at 100,000 hours. What does that really mean, and what happens when they go out?
It's a good question. LEDs are a little bit different than traditional technology in that they typically don't just go out. If you've got a fixture that's rated for an L70 of 100,000 hours, what that means is after 100,000 hours, the light output will now be at 70%. And if it goes for another 100,000 hours, they'll slowly degrade or go down from that point on as well. Whereas if you look at an HID fixture today, once they're installed after 10,000, 15,000 hours, depending on which one, they've degraded to 55% of their initial output. And then they burn out and the lights go off and, you can't see. But with LEDs, it's not that way. It's just a slow degradation over time. And that's why the L70 is incredibly important. And some of them, you'll see different numbers than L70. L70 tends to be a standard in the industry of what the rated life is at that point. But some of ours will quote 100,000 hours after, of an L93 or an L88. So after 100,000 hours, you still have 88 or 93% of your light output, even after 100,000 hours.
Right. So last question comes from a person who evidently has multiple facilities. Their question is, my priorities are indoor, Highbay first, outdoor parking lot second, and office third. 2 questions within that. One is, can I also control my parking lot lights for dimming? And then what suggestions would you have as I look across multiple facilities to help me prioritize where to go first?
So, yeah, you can absolutely control the outdoor lighting. So Acuity has multiple sensors and control systems that enable you to dim your outdoor. We have occupancy sensors as well, so you can do that sometimes in your employee parking areas. And then to prioritize, I'll just give you an example of what Preferred Freezer did. They have dozens of operations across the country. And what they started with is they started looking at the energy rates across the country at each different location. Then they actually looked at, what rebates were available, local rebates. And so using some of that and also the hours of operation, they were able to, again, kind of force rank it by, I can get a rebate here, I have my highest electricity here, and I have the longest hours here. That's actually really, if you have that data, it's pretty easy to start comparing that with a quick financial analysis to figure out which one makes the most sense, what local rebates are available. And so that's something we could easily help out with as well.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we'll head into wrap up. First of all, thank you for Mick and Justin. This has been a really interesting, actually very informative session with a lot of good data. Really impressed with the data around the maintenance, the safety, the productivity pieces, also the customer insights from our peers. Really interesting to hear what the folks had said after their lighting. So as for the folks on the webinar, there's a handful of things you can do. We will have this webinar set aside on graybar.com, and we'll send you a quick link via email, and thank you. Second thing is, if you'd like, we have Graybar lighting renovation teams around the country, and we can have a person stop by, look at your facility, develop an ROI and a lighting design recommendation for you, and give you that full payback that you can use to then make a real financial and lighting decision on that upgrade. So at this point, say thank you and appreciate your attendance. Bye-bye.